We're good.
Good. You said we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we go ahead and call the meeting to order? The agenda is up on the screen, hidden for everybody to not see. There it is. So we will follow the agenda. We have some guests here from Habitat that we'll talk a little bit later. Michael introduced those as we go through the agenda. But we will start by taking a look at or peruse the July 25th minutes that Davin had sent out. If you would, if you've had an opportunity to look at those, if we'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from 25 July.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then we'll accept the meeting minutes from the 25th of July. We'll go ahead and hop into the agenda, and the first item, number 3, are the manager reports. Mike, if you'll lead us through the finance, capital, and marketing discussions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's look at the financials that you have in front of you. The month was good. July was our first month of the fiscal year. I say good because we actually made some money, but we didn't hit our monthly projections on the avgas or the Jet A budget. Because, as I mentioned several months ago and even last month, July is a slow month for us. Things start improving pretty much in September, with the football season and all of the charters that we have. So August will be, I think, as well, a good month. But as far as airport fees, that'll be slightly down as well. We didn't get the Hanson lease again. Davin is looking into that as to what the holdup is and where it is. They're usually pretty good, at sending us the payment, but that's why there's a variance in the leases. Let's see. Out of the ordinary. Again, airport fees are down because traffic's just down. It's hot. General aviation normally doesn't like to fly because they don't have air conditioning in the small aircraft, most of them anyway. And then corporate's down because a lot of them go on vacations in July as well. So
It's kind of expected things, Mike. You're not hearing
It
traffic
is.
going to other.
no, of course, we've had a lot of rain too.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
rain, thunderstorms, that kind of thing. So that does play into as well. But yeah, it's normal. I think every year I usually say June, July into August is probably our slow months.
Yeah, because you budget flat, right, across each month.
We
So
do.
the slower months are gonna automatically be kind of below
Yeah.
budget, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Any questions on that? Operations. We did budget 42,000 for a budget year to date on operations. And our first month in the fiscal year, we've had 3,582 operations, which is a good, healthy operating month. Again, our avgas was down 7,000 in actual gallons for July in avgas, and then Jet A was 35, almost 36,000 for the actual month. So I'm still happy, that we made money. We did try to cut expenses. If you look at the airport maintenance, it's way down. We lost our airport maintenance person. He's very, very good, very qualified. We took him from public utilities, and then public utilities took him back after 2 years. Justin was a great blessing to us. He was a certified electrician and helped us in many, many ways, but he was a go-getter, just a very, very good worker. Helped us with the roofs, getting those in order, a lot of the grounds. But public utilities, they remembered his talent and they wanted him back. They're shorthanded. It's hard, I guess, to find good qualified people, especially certified electricians, and they were really in need. So I understand. So we're putting the word out. We just, put that out there, in HR. We're getting some responses now, for, applications. One of them is somebody who is a part-timer right now working, he's a student and, he actually was working with Justin through the year, year, I guess. Justin was here too, but Caleb's been working only 1 year under Justin. So he's very familiar with the airport. Great worker. Not saying he's gonna get it. We got to go through the motions and check out everybody who's applied. We're gonna be fair and make sure we get the right candidate. But he has done a good job for us. So we do have that. Any questions on the financial?
Right, let me just ask you, on the airport administration there was way down. You said the position falls under maintenance, right? You were just talking about.
Yeah, the airport
Maintenance
maintenance.
Yeah, admin was like, almost half down or kind of in the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
and I looked at that today, and I'm not quite sure what that is. I know that we have tried to watch our expenses, but I'm not quite sure what happened there. Do you know, David?
Don't.
We'll
Okay.
find out, though, and let you
Yes.
know. And also, airport services was down a good bit. We'll find out about that, but, we have put a lot in the, budget to, take care of some maintenance issues. And it's possible, and what I'm thinking, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
gotta find out, is that we just hadn't done those maintenance issues yet. And,
Makes
through the months we will. Hey, Andrew.
How's it going? Starting a little late.
That's okay. We finished talking about you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, anything else on the financials? All right, let me get my list on, capital improvements. Feel free to chime in anytime on capital improvements. So the taxiway alpha project, Andrew and RSNH, man, they've been working hard. I mean, really hard on getting the design done on the taxiway alpha project, because we are under the gun, to get things going. Andrew sent me, which he's working on Saturdays, sent me the 90% submittal on the design for taxiway alpha, sent that on Saturday. And so we have a meeting next week with GDOT, RSNH, myself, go over that submittal. And so, we're a little behind, and I say just a week or two behind on the schedule that I had presented you with all of the dates and all, because the survey folks were kind of backlogged, I guess, and so they got out here when they could. So it's not on RSNH, it's the survey folks. And you gotta work with everybody. And if anything, I want to make sure, that we get everything right on this project, and we know exactly where everything is, and we're not, stuck like we were last time. So I'm excited about that. Do you have any comments on that one?
no, just the other update is we're working on the cost estimate right now.
Mhm.
So to update that information based on the latest deliverables, so we should have that ready for you by end of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
And so we'll review that with the plans next week. Going forward, just continue to move, continue to look for, just making sure we've found the opportunities we can to save money on that project where we can, and, just continuing to move forward.
Good. Yeah, because GDOT, FAA, they're giving us the rest of the remainder of the money that's left over. We're trying to make all of that money work, and I think we're doing a good job, but still, there's some give and take, in that project, which still, it won't harm the project because, it's still gonna be a wonderful project when we get it done. Second, the runway 220 project, we did a walkthrough on the pavement last week. And GDOT was here for that. Everything looked good, the paint looked good, pavement looked good. We noted some areas that needed to be addressed by the contractor, mostly the edges, and then some drainage caps and things like that have to be addressed. It also has to be grassed, which they're doing today. But the intent is to have this all finished up by tomorrow, is what the contractor is saying. We'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, they want to do a walkthrough on Thursday. So we have it set up, RSNH, myself. GDOT Lou can't be here, but GDOT in its place, he'll send somebody, an area GDOT person will be here to look at it.
He emailed me two folks, and unfortunately, I can't remember their names, but Luke sent me the names, and I'll send it to you.
Okay,
The guys that are gonna be here
okay,
in his stead. But no, it's taken a long time. I think the good weather that we've had for the last week has really, really helped. But, I mean, the asphalt out there looks really good.
yeah,
So even with the ups and downs and hiccups that we've had with the dirt, the asphalt does look really good. They did a great job
yeah,
on the paving out there. So if they get those shoulders cleaned up, the embankments tied in and the grass out there, we'll be good to go.
yeah, it looked good. How many rain days did they have? 17, 18?
Goodness, I think by the end of it, they had like 18 or 19.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was a lot to add to the project, so all in all, and then, trying to work with dirt in addition to trying to get the moisture content to apply, and the compaction and all that. I think we'll have a good project on that one. And just for everybody's knowledge, I did put out there to all the tenants, the emails that I had, submit your names and I will draw your name, out of a hat and, hey, Jeff. And, whoever wanted to be the first, to take off or land on the brand new runway. And so our own, David, was picked.
One to draw.
Nice.
And that was fair and square. But yeah, he was picked, so he's on the ready.
I didn't also win the Powerball though last.
You did?
One or the other.
Consolation prize.
Yeah.
So I'm glad about that. I told Jessica about it too. She's our tower chief, Jessica, and she was pleased to hear it's you too.
I've got a 6-seat airplane, so if anybody wants to join me.
Yeah, there you go, there you go. Everybody.
There's 5 others.
So the fencing project, I think the last time we met, I believe I think it was yet to be approved. The contractor had yet to be approved by the mayor and commission. They did approve it. And now we're waiting on a PO, from purchasing. Structural Resources is the contractor and they're all ready to go. They do have to order the fencing. And they're waiting on the PO. I should get the PO probably tomorrow, hopefully. We're pushing for it anyway, at least by Thursday.
Are they a local company?
Yeah, they're local. And actually, they're the ones that did the Rofer project.
Okay.
And so Athens-Clarke County currently, that is their, what do you call it? Well, I guess they have a on-demand contractor agreement with us that the mayor and commission had approved like 5 years ago. So they're kind of their go-to. And everything's been approved, purchasing, everything's been approved with risk. So now I think that contract's about to end from what I hear. And then Athens-Clarke County put it out there again for anybody and everybody that wants to do it. But they have been a great resource for us and really saved us a lot of time so that we really don't have to go out to bid. If we didn't want to, we could use them because they're already vetted and that kind of thing. So, they will be doing the fencing project. And then lastly, the self-serve unit. That's just been one thing after another with that. We knew it was gonna be expensive and we went ahead and tried to get 3 quotes. We couldn't get 3 quotes. We could only get 2 quotes. So we went to purchasing. Purchasing said, it's kind of above that limit where you really got to do a sealed bid. So right now we're in the process of getting a sealed bid out there. And Right now, risk management's looking at it. Purchasing's already written it. Davin's got to do a few more things to it as well, and then send it back in to purchasing. But anyway, just to let you know, it's still moving. We're still working it. We had to jump through a couple hoops, and we're on the right track now. We did come up with a couple good contractors. There are three of them out there that we know of, but one of them is so busy, you know, they just never sent anything in. But there are several good ones that are interested, and so we're hoping that they will put a bid in for this. Now, in the end, I'll say this too. You know, even though it's $80,000-$90,000, that's not gonna come out of our pocket, you know. We will get some reimbursement from our fuel supplier because they did say they would help. But initially, we're gonna have to fund it and then get reimbursed. So that's why we're having to go through this.
So where's that now? They're waiting for sealed bids now? Is that correct?
We're about to put it out.
Oh, it's about to go
We're
up.
finishing up the crafting of that sealed bid
Okay.
and the dates. And then so they should get it out. What do you think? By next week, first of next week?
I think she was saying.
Oh,
by
Friday. I actually want to do it by Friday. That's right. Yeah, yeah. So it'll go out pretty quick. And then, no, you wanted me to talk about I'm involved with, Georgia Department of Transportation, this, advanced air, mobility team.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
eVTOLs or whatever they're
yeah.
called, related.
Yeah. So I've been on this team probably 2.5 months, I guess. I was called by GDOT if I would, you know, participate. And there's a lot of folks on the team. We meet at Georgia Tech in one of the auditoriums. There's folks in there, you know, from the FAA, various eVTOL manufacturers and parts and suppliers, GDOT, of course, and just a whole conglomerate of folks. And what they want to do is kind of bring us all together, you know, airports to talk about, okay, what do we do? You know, here they are, they're coming, kind of like the drones were. We were kind of left, you know, like, okay, here they are, what do we do? And the FAA was like that too, you know, we're kind of behind the curve. So they're trying to get ahead of the curve on this thing. And so we're trying to come up with some standards for it. And so I've been doing that. And I think we have one more meeting coming up, I think in September. And that should be the final meeting unless they want to call some more. And then they'll put something together for us all to look at, you know, that we kind of came together as a group and decided on the best, you know, way to move forward with this. And then we'll just kind of, you know, pick it apart. But anyway, so yeah, I've been on that for a little bit. And it's been interesting. You know, I met a lot of good folks. And then I do want to say this too. Just a reminder that next month's meeting, we'll have our Air Service Development, Doug Blissett will be here to present the market study, the updated market study. So it looks really good. I mean, not much has changed from the old one, a little bit, you know, but I'm excited to hear what he's got to say, because he's out there all the time, you know, talking to airlines and get a little update on what's going on out there. And then that'll be at our next meeting in the morning. I'll be meeting with our ASD group. And Doug will be there too, to make a presentation as well. And he'll stick around and come to our meeting. Any questions so far? I believe that's all I have.
Very good. Any questions of mine? Well, you've got the microphone going. Why don't we just jump right into old business with the Lexington
Okay.
Highway Corridor?
All right. So, yeah, Diane is, she's actually a voting member on that board. And I'm on there as well as a support member. And one of the things they talked about was, well, sidewalk extensions. And I'm trying to see if there was anything that really related to the airport, here. Nothing that I could see really, and I have to be honest, they do a WebEx, and a lot of times people be coming in my office, which they did a couple times, and then I'd lose track of what's going on. But there's really nothing on the, about the airport or anything that would, pertain to us. But I know probably next month, Diane can probably, talk to it as well. She's more in depth as to what's going on with other things. Yeah, that's about all I have, sir.
Any questions, Mike, regarding the corridor project? All right, next item under new business, Mike, I'll let you introduce kind of what we're doing and.
Sure. So, periodically, I'll get a call from planning, as a lot of the folks here on the table know, if there's gonna be any new development, that might affect us in our approaches or any of our critical areas. And they usually just want us to look it over, and see, how it'll affect us, if it's going to be any major issue with any of the approaches that we have. Planning was going to be here today, but he did call me and say that he wouldn't be able to make it today. But I told him, it's okay, because what we normally do, we usually get the applications and the maps, and it gives us a chance to look them over. And then, like today, you all were here and we appreciate you being here. And we'll listen to you and listen to what, you have to say about the project as well, which is good. Because today is just kind of listening. And then at a later date, before our next meeting, we'll have a subcommittee meeting with a lot of the members here, subcommittee meeting of the operations committee. And then we'll call planning in, and if one of you want to come back, you're more than welcome to come back and talk there too. It's pretty much the same folks, a couple folks that are in this meeting here. And then at that point in time, they'll make a recommendation to the full authority at the next meeting or September meeting. And then that's when they'll vote on, whichever way they go. So, but at this point in time, if it's okay with the chairman, we'd love to hear, what your plans are for this project.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all right. So I'm Justin Crichton with WA Engineering, senior planner there. With me is Clark Bacon, project civil engineer, Spencer, Charles, and TJ, all with Habitat for Humanity. I had anticipated planning being here as well and giving a presentation. So probably what I'll do, I'll just describe the project in general, and then talk about the waivers that we're requesting from the specific overlay district standards, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Well, I think it's fair to say, this authority has no authority.
Yeah.
Right way to say that.
It's the
Yeah.
mayor and commission really.
And we make
Yeah, it's the
recommendations
recommending
back,
body.
as but sure.
So
We certainly will do it, just don't
Yeah.
have any things that we're gonna say, go for it.
Yeah.
We could all vote it down. Right?
Yeah.
It goes from us to the planning commission. They vote one way or the other, but ultimately it's the mayor commission. You know how that works.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the project is called Micah's Creek, and the proposal is to build 63 individual single-family homes.
Just, I'm sorry, do we have any drawings that maybe we can pass?
Think we-
I got several things.
So it's at the corner of Little Oak Street and Barney Street. And just a little bit about the project, a little more background on the project. So typically when we undertake one of these, the first thing that we do is look at the overall comprehensive plan for the county, which kind of outlines a vision for land use, what development should be like, and some goals that the county has identified the development should hit, or be driving towards. And this project, we feel like does achieves a couple, works towards achieving a couple of those goals. The first one is housing. So affordable housing is an ongoing issue, has been for a long time in Athens. And this proposal would build 63 new units with, that are exclusively offering, more affordable housing, more choice in the market, which is something that we think is sorely needed in Athens. And the other goal that it hits is the transportation options goal. So the project's located immediately adjacent to the Firefly Trail. There's a couple other little features within the design that, so there's no dedicated parking on each lot, so it's all on-street parking. The idea is that we're trying to encourage people to use a means of transportation other than their car. So the proximity to the Firefly Trail does that. Also de-emphasizing parking, storage of automobiles, a big component of this as well. As far as the actual houses go, so I said 63 total, 37 of those will be for Habitat families who have a child enrolled in Gaines School Elementary. Part of this project will also be a longitudinal study of those students that are in Gaines School that will follow them and kind of monitor the outcomes, their educational outcomes, to see if there's a difference between a child that comes from a home that's owned versus one that rents. So what effect stable housing has on educational outcomes. There'll be 11 tiny homes that are offered to musicians. So people that contribute to the community in the arts community in Athens will have a place to live. Probably they don't need a whole lot of space, so tiny home will be offered to them. And then there'll be 15 homes that are offered for students that have aged out of foster care but are in the university system. So they don't have that support network at home that a traditional student would have. So they need someplace, a little extra support, and those homes would be offered. It's a partnership with a group called Lydia's Place that helps house those kids. That would be fun this evening. Yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
You bet.
Hey, y'all, I'm Spencer, and I appreciate your presentation. And I know how the system works, but I want y'all's buy-in, right? That's why I'm even here. TJ and I were out on a job site. I got a trailer full of wood. We're building right now, not here, but we're really trying to ramp up and meet the needs. We're not gonna be able to meet the needs just by doing 1 or 2 infill. In 2017, we did a study, and this is my 25th year here, 1-year mission. And in 2017, we did a study because I'd heard ancillary evidence from all the homeowners that I built homes for that the kids just get better. They, Jackie walks in the office and I'm like, hey, Jackie, how the kids doing? She's like, well, they're not kids anymore. That was 20 years ago when you built my house. And they both went to college. They played football at a school in South Carolina, graduated from Clark Central or Cedar Shoals. And I said, so this means that we have, at the time, we had 7,000 homes in Georgia. Right now, we're about at 8,000. We're the 15th largest builder in the nation. And so we have our built-in study group, right? And so we hired Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State to do a statewide study and be like, okay, what are the actual outcomes? And we found that the kids do better in school. 90% plus 90% of them said that instantly did better. 80% of them said that they could save money and that the families felt more stable. And then 70% of them said they reduced or removed all forms of public assistance. 50% of those 70% actually were removed from any sort of public assistance. So in my other line of work, it does feel like a clean, well-lighted place actually solves some of the issues that we debate at infinitum or whatever about socioeconomic development and educational development of our lower income communities. And so what we started pre-pandemic was this project. And the pandemic stopped us dead in the tracks. But I was like, okay, we take our lowest performing school district which is Gaines Elementary. And it only has like 500 kids. So if I can get 10 to 20% of that population within habitat homes that are owner occupied in an area that where historically folks, our customers would have lived anyway, right? That was across the tracks, across the river, meant to serve our university population. And we could actually partner with UGA and do a longitudinal study on these kids and their families. Because when we're selling a home for $399 a month plus taxes and insurance, right? Looking at $600, maybe $700 most. That's cheaper than any rent right now that you can find anywhere. And normally it's freeing up for a family. It's going to free up about $500-600 a month. And I hadn't studied this, but I guarantee you that $500-600 a month is spent within 5 miles of that front door, right? You're freeing up that money and they're just churning it back in. Buying transmissions for their cars, school stuff for their kids, their own education. The adult education was also another thing that we didn't even count on finding, right? So other adults in the home also achieved higher education goals. So it really does feel like that this is a solution for a lot of our social ills. And I know I'm like, I'm an obvious spokesperson for Habitat, but I really like to make science-based decisions. And this will show the science behind it. I had a Bloomberg reporter I'm speaking to right now who had heard about this. He's asked around all over the nation. Nobody has ever done anything like this. Nobody. Nobody has ever tried to tie place-based housing and home ownership with socioeconomic and educational outcomes. But I'm saying that we can do it. And we're going to show that it can be done. Partner with UGA, longitudinal study with everybody. We're going to know in 7 to 10 years, but I can go ahead and guarantee you that it's going to work because I've seen it work. So I know this is sort of like, it is a mayor and commission vote, but I want everybody's buy-in. We've got, during an election year last year, think about this, y'all. 2022 election year, we had the governor and state senators, federal senators give us funding for this project and the city of Athens. That's a mixed bag right there, right? But the point is, I'm just me. I didn't pull those levers. The value of this project, people are seeing that this is something that could solve or be one of the things that could help solve some of the issues that we face, especially in this community. So I know we got birds and noise and stuff like that and all that. I'll do whatever you want me to do, but I just want y'all to say, heck yeah, we need this regardless of anything. And I just really want your support on this. So I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm not going to be back here when you vote. I'm not going to look at the minutes. I'm just telling you that I'd appreciate y'all's serious consideration on making some different decisions that have been in the past, which I understand. I get it. But this is important for our community. I think it could be important for the entire country to show that this is what we need. We don't have bad teachers. We don't have bad kids. We got bad places for them to live. They're chasing rent. Gaines Elementary has the highest attrition during the school year. What is that? That's all the people chasing the lowest rent, taking a kid out of that school, going to find somewhere that's cheaper, or moving a kid into that school, finding a place that's cheaper. We stop that, and we can really show that this community knows how to fix this stuff. There's a lot of smart people in this town. We should be able to fix a lot of stuff that we say are problems. So anyway, I appreciate y'all's support. If you got any questions.
Our process is we'll have somebody from planning come next.
Yeah, so at the
Meeting.
subcommittee meeting, we'll have planning, and I already talked to him. He has a class, I guess, on Tuesday, so he was not able to make it. But I told him, I said, we have a subcommittee meeting that this will go to, and we'd like for him to come. And he said, absolutely, he'll be at that subcommittee meeting. So he will definitely be there to, answer any questions that the subcommittee has. And I point to David because he's the chair of that subcommittee.
Yeah, and, what we're trying, thank you, first of all. And it does mean a lot, I think, when we hear, the voice of the person behind the hammer to say, this is what I'm trying to do. What we are tasked with is making sure that the airport and the airport's environment isn't encroached upon by buildings, So while I'm sure knowing the ins and outs of the project, pull at our own strings, it's fairly objective. Well, does it comply with the ordinance? Is it going to, inhibit us from our planning? And those are the items that we talk about. Largely where we find issues, there used to be a density portion of the ordinance, and we were planning to get rid of some of that because it was a little bit overhanded. But, roofing materials, are they reflective? Obviously these are single family houses, and it's set at an elevation lower than our airport's elevation. So you're not going to obstruct air traffic. But are you going to shine lights? Are you going to have street lights that aren't shielded on top? Those sorts of things are really, and they're all laid out pretty well. So those are the items that we really tasked it with. So that we don't have, so planning doesn't have to answer for us. We give that, our committee approval or denial based on a recommendation or for or against rather. We give that to planning, and then planning runs. And then the mayor commission, they do the same thing to the mayor commission. So, just to give you an idea of how our process works, we have very little authority, but those are the things that we're looking. That makes sense.
It absolutely does. I appreciate y'all listening to this, allowing me a chance to speak here today. And if there are any suggestions that y'all might have where we could get your full support,
Yeah.
I want to listen to them. You see what I'm saying? Like you're talking about shielded lights, no problem.
Yeah.
Come out. I mean, the kids for the units for the kids that have aged out of foster care are going to be made out of concrete. So no noise, no crash problems, whatever y'all are considering. Right? So anything that you have that you would like to suggest, let me know before you vote. And let's see if we can work it out, because I just really would love to see everybody on board.
Justin, are we requesting any waivers?
We are, so there's two specific waivers. There's a requirement that any retention ponds that are built in the course of the project be dry ponds. And we will most likely comply with that, but we ask for a waiver just in case we need to construct one of the two ponds that are proposed as a non-dry pond. So we're working with the actual topography of the site. We're going to build essentially a wall as one end of the pond and leave the other as the actual topography of the site.
So for the non-engineers, yeah, the detention ponds typically would have a 4-foot depth of water at the bottom of the pond to provide water quality. And so we'd like to preserve that opportunity to still use our ponds for water quality. And they're at one of our lower elevation. But again, like Spencer said, if that's a challenge for you guys, we're willing to come up with a solution that meets your expectations.
And the other one is the complete prohibition of the creation of new single-family lots inside of the airport. So previously, there was some mechanism for creating those lots, but it was removed in 2022.
Yeah, the things are fairly convoluted. Basically, because this is a planned development, you kind of subvert most of that anyway. So you're giving a package to planning, and planning says yes or no. It's not line by line item. So as far as our concerns would be, really we're looking at, the overall density and how does that compare to the area. We don't want to overbuild the area, but I don't.
So we are requesting some additional density beyond what is currently appropriate?
Until 2022 with the rewrite, it was single family home per acre.
Yeah.
And in that area, that's a little absurd. And so we did what we could to get rid of that. We'll look at, there are a lot of housing communities in the various overlays, and we'll see, where things line up. I think that's probably how we'll spend most of our time, just doing that research and saying, 63 houses, 4-bedroom-ish.
And I think it,
How many bedrooms? 3-bedroom? So 150, 180 bedrooms.
Yeah.
What is that doing to the area? It's really the conversation I think that will mostly.
and our approach cuts through the center of it, I think. But I don't have that here, but when we meet with the subcommittee, I'll have that for you to look at. And you can kind of eyeball that too. So the whole area is not in our approach, restrictions.
So it's about a mile from the end of the main runway.
Yeah, if you look from racetrack out, ignore, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say.
It's further out than that.
Yeah, it's.
So right on the other side.
On the other side of the loop is the racetrack, and then it's
Yeah.
beyond that.
That's like right in that area.
There you go, David. He's got it pulled.
Yeah, I have it on I marked it on the map.
Yeah, racetrack is kind of right across the street. Where it ties into
Yep.
Little Oak Street.
Like those three little white houses that are built there on the corner.
Yeah.
So other than those two specific items that I mentioned, we intend to fully comply with everything else. So
Wonderful. This is just to satisfy personal curiosity. These homes are sold to the people that are living in them, yes?
yes,
By Habitat to person living. How do we make sure they don't flip the house?
That's a great question. So, we have a philosophy of the attempt to create generational wealth. Okay? So that is the end goal of basically what I say, right the wrongs that the federal government's passed for the past 60 years. So you look at we would sell it for, I don't know, I can't remember my math, 142,000, it's $399 a month for 30 years. We do zero interest, but what we would do is get an appraisal for the property and hold back a silent second mortgage. So they're buried or they're even at the beginning. And then the silent second is forgiven. So say if we did $150,000 mortgage, silent second for $150,000, then they would be forgiven $3,000 a year on the silent second just by living in it. We make sure it's a primary residence. We're the mortgage holder, so there's no
So there's a secondary lien on them.
secondary lien. And then we also exercise a right of first refusal. Okay, so the house that TJ and I were working on today was one that we bought back from a customer who wanted to move somewhere else. And the one next to another one we're rehabbing, we bought it back. And the lady called up and said, hey, my kids graduated. I want to move out of the country. They don't live with me anymore. They're off in college and they're gone. I'm gonna move to Madison County. It's like, okay. So we paid her back 10 years worth of her mortgage, minus the taxes and insurance. We escrow it and we service the mortgages as well. So we paid her back 10 years worth of it, and that thing we sold it like, I don't know, $65,000. So it was cheap, right? She first bought it. And then we rehab, it was like 14, 15, 20,000 bucks, I can't remember. And then we focus on rehabbing it back into place, and we have a family qualified to buy that home. It's actually two city employees, or one school district employee is married to a city employee, and they got 8 kids. From like 17 down to one.
Wow.
And so we're adding 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, blowing out the front porch, but we're able to give the original homeowner funds to go on money she paid to us. And then we're able to rehab it and we'll sell that to this family. And so the idea is the board doesn't always exercise the right of first refusal. But what we see is very rarely do we have to even, it doesn't hardly come up at all, right? Because, well, these are hardworking folks that make good decisions. They got decent credit. The only difference is they just can't afford the dirt. Like literally, that's it. And you see them every day. They were working for you, taking blood, phlebotomists, they check you out, and they give you, wear white lab coats and give you your prescription at the pharmacy. But you never think, you see these people around you serving, that they can't afford a house, right? That's all we do, pre-qualified, go through a rigorous selection process, and golly, sweat equity, 500 hours worth of work on some other people's houses, and then when you get to 200, we start talking about your house, right? So, I mean, it's a very rigid program. And the folks that are our customers are good folks that work hard. Like, one of the biggest misperceptions, I always say this stuff, like, those guys hold signs on the street, those aren't my customers. You don't even think about my customers, but I guarantee you met a bunch of them. So.
What's the range of square footage of the houses?
So the smallest one is a little, 450, I think.
So the, you know, the tiny homes, what I wanted to do is throw, some sort of, like, we can't build tiny homes you can't build a home less than 600 square feet in that house, right? So I wanted to try to change policy with an actual action. So in PD, you can create the size of a home different. And so, you know, a tiny home is like 3 to 450. So I got to stay within that range to call it that, right? But you think about, we can have a home at a lower price point than 142. We can sell a home, it's like artists, musicians, or veterans was the line, where it's like people who aren't gonna expand their families, people that have been around this town for a long time, that have, like you said it great, you know, contribute to the fabric of our society, but they just literally can't afford a house, you know? And so it gives us the opportunity to have a different market than just families. And so, last thing, if I may, the cultural blending of this community is what's key. It's what we're lacking in our society today because of the way we've built our homes over the past 40 years, 50 years. I live in an old house. 4 homes got built by one builder on Hill Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4. That's probably a ton back in 1903. Now you got 180 homes being built by a builder. But then a homogeneous population buys those exact homes because they're the same price and they're about the same size. This, you're going to have kids at Gaines Elementary who have never even been out of the county, even though the county line is 3 miles away or 5 miles, right? And they're hanging out with artists, musicians, or veterans because all the houses are mixed together, right? And you might have a kid in a habitat home going, golly, man, my life's rough. I couldn't get these new sneakers or backpack before school. But he's meeting his buddy to go to a bus. And then he walks past that veteran's house. And so he has another experience in his head, right? And then he sees this guitar player or this artist out there. And that's another culturally blended experience. And then he thinks he might have it so bad. Then he walks past one of these 2-bedroom, 2-bath places where the kids have no parents. And they have aged out of the foster kid system and they have like an 80% chance of being homeless in 5 years. Okay. Maybe 60, I can't remember. But all those people wouldn't live in the same neighborhood. That's a problem today. We don't get to know people who are different than us. This is a way to culturally blend our neighborhoods, just like the old neighborhoods used to be built. But we're doing it on purpose by design. So that's all I got. Thanks for listening.
Anybody have any questions or? So we will follow our process and look forward to catching back up next month, the 26th. right?
That's right.
I think I wrote that down, right?
Yeah.
So, very good. Thank you, very. You're welcome to stay if you want.
We're going back. TJ and I got a trailer of wood out in the parking lot.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for all the information.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Very informative. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I did that.
Yeah.
That gets me every time.
Every time.
Dave, thank you for filling in the process.
Yeah, well, and also for Jeff, I don't know if you've gone through any of that with us.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Well, I think we
Maybe.
looked at one for the apartments that they're building.
Did we? Okay.
That's right.
That was,
Well, yeah, you were involved in the apartments over on.
oh, that's right. On Baldwin Street. That's the one.
Development behind
Yeah.
the stadium.
They used to, well, when we had the, lot minimum
Yes.
size, they used to come up far more frequently.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
And it was just, well, you know, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to deny, you know, you're weighing on us to approve this, but the ordinance is standing in our way, you know?
You're inside the loop and you want to have one house per acre.
Right.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
tough one.
so,
Well, it'll be interesting to hear when everything's done. what-
yeah, that's, you know, I hope that can be successful
Yeah.
in this kind of community and sort of area. I always get fearful with any development that you could have great intentions, but then, you know, as soon as somebody decides to make it into student housing and then we have more of that. And not that that's not necessary also, but, you know, it may not.
Well, it's interesting they're targeting kids that are aging out of the foster care system, because I know
Yeah.
when I was at University of Houston, that was a big thing for students there is, you know, there was hundreds of students that, you know, came to the university, didn't have a support network, because depend on their foster care parents, obviously, in their experience, but the vast majority of them, once they aged out, they had nobody.
Yeah.
And, so this is kind of a unique niche, I think, that,
Yeah. Well, Spencer's passionate about it and he's worked really hard to build that program. And I know they were somewhat hamstrung as to where they could go and tried to look inner city, you know, inner city for Athens for what that's worth. But some of the areas they were looking were too far from the closest schools and bus issues and things like that. So,
That's, Spencer, I didn't realize it, sorry, Spencer Fry
right.
was talking. Is he
Yeah.
still a state representative?
Yeah.
He's still active as
Yeah.
a state representative and the director
Oh, wow.
of the Habitat for Humanity, right?
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
I didn't realize it when he first started talking.
I asked him, was this his disguise? He just laughed. So.
Yeah, I missed that. I should have come in a little bit earlier.
All right, let's see, back on the agenda. I don't know if we have any updates from standing committees. We will definitely have an update for next committee or next time we meet, and we might have, you know, reminding us when it's time for that next meeting, and remind us of the agenda, because it might be a little longer meeting than we
Yeah,
normally
it
have.
It will with, the subcommittee and then with
Yeah.
Doug here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So are there any updates from standing committees? Very good. Any other business to bring forward? I would acknowledge, Davin put out on everybody's annual report. If you have a chance to look through that, you'll notice some certainly great information about the airport, but in the back are all of our strategic plan identifications that so many worked hard on that. So thank you to all that contributed, but specifically to those who worked really, really hard on it. I know Keith and Diane put a lot of work into the wordsmithing of those and into the identification and layout. So thank you. Thank you for
And this,
all that.
this
work.
person on page 2, this young lady, she's actually one of our line personnel.
Understand?
Hannah, yeah. And I will say, I'll let Davin speak to this, but Davin's using her, as an interim. She's a UGA student.
Okay.
And do you want to, what?
Yeah.
What you're doing?
Yeah, so she
she came to us and wanted, see if she could work on an internship. Of course, I said, yes, most definitely. And so she is actually right now working on a hangar project. So our hangar situation is pretty convoluted. It's pretty complex. There are a lot of issues. We need to have new leases signed. We've got a hangar waiting list that needs to be updated. GDOT's doing some work on that. And so Hannah has taken this over and is doing a phenomenal job. In fact, I said, really, you could probably do my job better than I can. So you may want to just take my job. But she's doing a fantastic job.
Can I ask, what is roughly the number on the waiting list now, the hangar waiting list?
Yeah, so we're somewhere around 25 to 35.
It's felt about steady, I mean.
Yeah. One of the
That makes
things
sense.
that she is doing, that list is, evolved. And so as people call, we've put them on the list, but we've never reached back out to them. And so she's in the process of reaching back out to every single
That's a
one
good thing to do.
and saying, hey, do you want to remain on the list? Where are you? That sort of thing. So she's really cleaning
Forgot about them, yeah.
that list up. Yeah.
Another,
Do we have any kind of structure to our waiting list? As far as, I visited an airport in Tennessee and just going to the website, found that they published their hangar waiting list on a website. And their waiting list is tiered. So if you're a resident of the county and you have an airplane that's tax basis is in the county, then you're in the first tier waiting list. And then, so they have 4 tiers. And then if you're not a resident of the county and you don't own an airplane, you're at the bottom.
Yeah.
that's
So-
interesting.
It seems like a good system because that way you maximize, you service your local community first.
Yeah.
And then you also increase your tax basis by it being an aircraft that's based here as opposed to a transient aircraft.
Send that to us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do we know how
that'd be
long
great.
people kind of remain on the waiting list before they get in?
How long?
Well, a lot of times they won't call us and say, take me off if they go somewhere else, so.
So you don't really know what that.
Yeah, that's what we're doing
wait
now.
time is.
But, we talked about the GDOT, helping us and we got a memo that, they're about ready to pull the trigger, to do this study, and help, fund some of these hangar projects. And this is part of it. This is, Steve Bryan, who I think we all know, he's GDOT Aviation Program Manager, but, he wants to make sure that, Joe isn't on our waiting list and also on Winder's waiting list. So he wants all of us airports to make sure that whoever's on our waiting list actually wants to come to us and will come to us. And not that they're duplicate, when we submit all of these names on a hangar waiting list to GDOT, because they want an accurate number. Because he said when it comes time to really, get down to the nuts and bolts of it, we say, okay, we've got some money, to help. They're gonna make sure that these folks are, wanting to come to Athens. So he said it really messed up your project if we find out, that half of them aren't even coming to Athens, so all of us, especially us, we want to do our due diligence, make sure we get it right.
Well, the hangar capacity is in our strategic plan.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And I mentioned that because that's something David's always talked about, operations, the leases, the hangar, the space and, so I just wanted Davin to bring that up too, let you know that we are working on that. But we're using Hannah and she's wonderful.
What's her major?
I should know.
She's got,
Terry. I know that.
Oh, she's a business major, okay.
but she's got her instruments, she's got her commercial, she's got her multi-engine. Yeah, she's got all that too.
Yeah, I'm on 3 hangar waiting lists right now.
Are you? Yeah, yeah.
2 in Wyoming and 1 in Tennessee.
Solid.
Someplace with no state income tax.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any other business to come forward today? Davin, as always, thank you for the notes. Thank you for keeping us straight. No other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
anyone opposed? We will stand adjourned. Next meeting, September 26th.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
only 4 home games in between, then and that.
We're gonna see that 7 this year, so.
It's like almost all the home games except for one between then and